What's up, everybody? This is Rich. And let's talk about the price of a spiritual awakening. When you finally wipe the cold from your eyes and your eyes are all the way open and you really see life and reality for what it is. Or I should say, because sometimes you don't get to see life for what it truly is in a spiritual awakening. You know, you have many different spiritual awakenings and they can get deeper. But let's say when you wipe the cold from your eyes and you can't see what you saw from your past life or the life that you're ascending from, right? Let's talk about the spiritual awakening, that process. It's a very uncomfortable process, very uncomfortable, because the things that you knew, the things that helped you, the things that worked out for you before are no longer. The thought processes, the ideas, you know, the way that you went about life, all that's about to change. See, the thing about a spiritual awakening is something got challenged. Your thought process, something inside of you got challenged. Ideas, ideologies, something got challenged from an outside source. Every day, a lot of people get challenged, but they don't accept that challenge. Again, a lot of people get challenged, but they don't accept that challenge to grow. They stay stagnant. But in order to undergo this spiritual awakening, you have to accept the challenge. So you've accepted the challenge when you were, you had a contradictory thought. Something contradictory came about, or something shifted you to this spiritual awakening, and you accepted the challenge. And one thing I know that comes about when you have a spiritual awakening is loneliness. You will be lonely. Again, you will be lonely. A lot of the friends that used to be around are not going to be around. A lot of the family not going to be around. Especially if your spiritual awakening was about them, about the friends and family. But if it was more so about you and your spiritual growth, a lot of these people that you used to be around are not going to understand. Again, a lot of these people that you used to be around, a lot of your friends, a lot of your family, a lot of your environment, they're not going to understand. You're going to rise to new heights to where they're not even energetically going to be a match. And you see that you want to have conversations with them about what's going on or new thought processes or new ideologies. Imagine if you find out the real about religion, or you find out the real about the world or earth or America or this or that. And you want to have conversations about that with them, but they're not ready for that task. It's going to be lonely. And like I said, imagine if your spiritual awakening was about them and how you have to separate. That could be a daunting task, especially if you're not comfortable being by yourself. This is why a lot of people fail the spiritual awakening journey, because of this first part right here, being lonely. A lot of people can't be lonely. A lot of people have to have others around them. But I tell you this, though, if you listen to this video and you've accepted the challenge to grow, I'm pretty sure you're one of these people who don't mind being alone. Because through solitude, you find peace. But a lot of people have an issue being alone. And these are the people who, a lot of times, will not undergo a spiritual awakening. Because for the main point, or the main reason that they can't never be alone, to see when you're never alone, you never have the time to think for yourself and let the process marinate inside of you that you have to undergo a spiritual awakening. See? So you're going to be lonely. You're going to be isolated. Part of that isolation, when you accept it, is because you can't resonate with people anymore, and also because God needs to separate you. The universe needs to separate you. Divine needs to separate you in order to start working on you. You have to separate. You can no longer be influenced by those that's not growing as you're growing. It's just fact of the matter. It doesn't mean that these people are bad. It doesn't mean that these people are evil or anything of that sort. No. It just means that they're not ready to go on the journey that you're about to undergo. That's it. They're not ready for that journey. After loneliness, what else is going to happen? You're going to be grief. You're going to have grief. You're going to be mourning your own self. You're going to have grief about your own thought patterns, your own religion, your old religion you used to think about. You're going to have grief about the attachments that you used to have, the friends that you used to have. It is what it is. That's just the part that comes with it. Grief. Your old self, the old things you used to do, no longer. You're going to find that it no longer resonates with you. So you're going to be sad. It's just like when a friend passes or a family member passes and you're sad and you're grieving. It's the same thing. And this is the point where a lot of people turn around because that grief is too strong. You know, they truly miss these old comforting things. And a lot of times that's what it is. We grieve the things that used to comfort us. We grieve the things that used to give us an identity. But you have to understand that you're embarking on a new identity. You're embarking on this new journey, this new path to become a new you. So this grief is a part of the process. Again, the grief is a part of the process, and that's something that you have to remember when you're grieving. You have to understand that it's not going to be forever, and it's a part of the process, and that you're going to have new things coming into your life that's going to replace the old things and raise you to the point of where you're supposed to be as a heightened individual. You know, your new form, your new task, your new who you are, I should say. You're being reinvented. And while you're being reinvented, like I said, you're going to grieve the old things. And that's cool. But you have to understand it's part of the process so you don't backtrack, so you don't backslide. And lastly, you're going to be confused. When that spiritual awakening starts to happen, you're not going to know what the hell is going on. Things that used to work out for you stop working out. And like I said, if it's friends that you have to grow from, they're going to start acting out. If it's family members, they're going to start acting out. If it's your job, you might get fired. You know, these are all a part of the things that the universe is throwing this whole gigantic whirlwind to start to get you uncomfortable, to pop you up out of that place that you in. And this is why I said a lot of people are afraid to be uncomfortable. And a lot of people are around too many people and listen to too many voices for them to pay attention to when it's time for them to rise. Imagine if it's time for you to have a spiritual awakening and it's time for you to work for yourself and you stick in this 9 to 5 and they keep throwing more turmoil, more bullshit at you at the job. The boss keeps tripping, this keeps happening, all these things keep happening. And now you're not paying attention to it's time for you to leave because you're comfortable. You see? Because you're avoiding that being uncomfortable. You're still stuck in this old paradigm that you used to live in. The one that's no longer serving you. And like I said, you're going to have confusion. You're not going to know what's going on, but that's the thing. That's the point that you release control. Again, that's the point in time that you release control. And understand that the universe has your back. Again, understand that the universe has your back. Like I said, you're gonna lose relationships. You're gonna lose friends. You're gonna lose family members. You're gonna lose your girlfriend, boyfriend. You might just, if they don't understand, if they don't truly love you, if they're not willing to take the time to understand that you're undergoing a process, you might lose them. But I have to tell you this: that's a part of the process. You have to. At this point, at this juncture, you have to choose you over you choosing them. You have to choose you to please you and to please the Most High versus you choose to please somebody else. A lot of times these spiritual awakenings happen to people who have always chose other people before they chose themselves. And now you come into that split decision and say, it's time for me to choose me. So you're going to lose people. People are going to misunderstand you. People are going to think you don't went crazy. It's all a part of the process. I said you have to trust. You have to know that the Most High knows what He's doing. Again, you have to trust. And you have to understand. And because you're forming into this new person, you're going to have new boundaries. Because now you have to protect yourself even more. It's like a newborn. You're becoming a newborn. And you know when you have a newborn, you have more boundaries around that newborn. You don't let everybody touch it or, hold it, play with it. You're very protective. It's the same way. Now you have new boundaries. You have to have new boundaries to protect yourself so nobody harms you because you're a newborn. You're a new baby. You're new to this new earth, this new world, this new suit, this new ideologies that you have, these new thought patterns. This all came about during your spiritual awakening. So you're going to have new boundaries in order to protect this new you. So what's the price that you have to pay? An ego death. Your old you, the old sense of who you were, the things that you like to do, the way that you like to think, the way you went about things, the way you handle things, all that's about to go. That's the cost of the ego death. But let me tell you, it's scary, but it's so beautiful. Because deep down inside, deep down inside, this new person that you're becoming is who you really want to be. Again, this new person that you're becoming is who you really want to be deep down inside. When we take away the ego, take away the facade, take away all the things that we've learned, the influences that we've had, once you strip all these things away, and you go deep down inside, you see that this person that you're becoming is who you've always wanted to be. That ego death. Again, that ego death is big. That's one thing a lot of people will not let go is the ego because they built themselves up of who they are based on their ego. And guess what? That doesn't serve you. It might have before. The ego might have served you for that person who you were before, but right now, in the area, in the direction, in the lane that you're approaching now, the life that you're embarking on now, the ego doesn't serve you any good. So that's why you have to have that ego death. So you can transform into the new. Again, that's why you have to have that ego death so you can transform into the new. You're going to have a new identity. You're not going to know who you are. You're transforming into a new person. The old you didn't like to read. The old you didn't like to listen to inspirational, talks, motivational talks. Old you didn't like none of that. Anything positive? No. Scared of your emotions. All that. Once you have that ego death and you start to change, you become a new person. Like I said, you start growing to new things that you thought you never would have. But again, like I said, this is the person that you always deep down inside wanted to be, and you know you should have been. And you're just growing into those new shoes. Again, you're just growing into those new shoes. But you're going to have an identity crisis. People are not going to know who you are. People are not going to know what's happening to you. It's just like somebody who undergoes a new religion. And they come back fully, in the full religious attire and, speaking this, speaking that, and quoting this and quoting that, and not eating this and not eating this, and fasting and doing all this. People going to be like, who the hell is this? And what happened to, and that's going to be the same thing with you. But you have to understand it's all a part of the process. And you can't change for other people. Because you have to understand that this is what you're doing for you. And go back, this is why God isolates you. This is why God takes you away from those environments and take away all those things, because he needs to work on you. So when you go back, it's not easy for you to backslide. You see? That's why he isolates you. To really mold you, to really form you into this new person. So when you go back around these people, these environments, if you must have to, you're firmly rooted, you're firmly grounded. Remember, you're going to have that dark night of the soul. That deep, deep spiritual depression. You're going to have it. You're going to have it. It's part of the process. It's part of that process. That ego death is part of the process. That unlearning of what you learned is a part of the process. That being lonely is part of the process. People not knowing who you are is part of the process. You not knowing yourself during the process is part of the process. You being isolated is part of the process. Your ego dying is part of the process. People misunderstanding you is part of the process. Losing relationships, part of the process. Like I said, these are all the things that's going to make you the new you, the one that you know that you are supposed to be, the one that divine has set out for you, the one that's going to serve you into this new path, this new journey that you're approaching, that you're coming upon. And it's going to happen again and again and again. You don't just have one spiritual awakening, one ego death. No, you have multiple throughout a lifetime. That's why I believe you're reborn multiple times. You're not just reborn once. You don't just awaken to the truth one time. No, you have multiple. New. Even look at Malcolm X. Malcolm X had one when he went to prison, right? Then he became Muslim. And then throughout his being Muslim, he found out new things. Then he was reborn again. He had another ego death. We had to leave old thought patterns of him being Muslim and these old thought patterns that served him for this new path, this new journey that he was approaching. And he had to have another spiritual awakening. And again, everybody has one. To where you unlock new levels of consciousness, new levels of thought patterns, new levels of thinking, new answers. That's what happens. So don't be afraid of it. Just understand it. Anyways, let me know what y'all think. Y'all be safe out there. This is Rich. Love and blessings.